We're going to talk basketball. Tennessee is SEC champions, don't worry. But spring practice is a week away. My top 5 things I'm looking for Tennessee football spring practice, that and a whole lot more. Celebrate. It's a Friday. Locked on Vols.
You are Locked on Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome to the weekend, or the unofficial start of your weekend here with us. Grab a cup of coffee, keep running on that treadmill, keep delaying work in your cubicle, wherever and however you are listening to us here on Locked on Vols. I, Eric Cain, thank you so much, and don't fret. Just a little bit of ways, and then it is the weekend, and you guys can kick back and relax a little bit. But let's get in your news and notes and takes of the day. Tennessee athletics related. Spring practice is coming up this in a week from Monday. I'm going to tell you my 5 things I'm kind of looking for in a checklist here in segment number 1. Grant Ramey, my colleague at Volquest.com, coming on to talk a little Tennessee basketball in segment 2. And for those of you guys that want to hear some more about Tennessee baseball, segment 3 is the segment for you. That is today's rundown, and it is coming up here on Locked On Vols. Big shout out to our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs, where you can post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnVols. Subscribe, follow, all that for free. Thanks so much for making this your first listen. And as always, shout out everydayers. Let's jump down into it. Top 5 things I'm looking for Tennessee football spring practice. Number 1, of course, is Nico Iamaleava. Okay, you are the guy now. You're not just a 5-star waiting in the wings. You're not sitting there competing a little bit. I mean, this, Keys, Ferrari, this is your show. There's a lot of things going on right now. College football versus the NCAA, Tennessee versus the NCAA, and Nico's recruitment is centered right around in the middle of it. But you got a job to do, Nico. You're a quarterback. You are the quarterback now for the University of Tennessee. How do you handle yourself as being not only the leader of the huddle, but the leader of the offense and now the leader of the football team? Got to grow up in a hurry. And I'm looking to see that transition, how that goes for Nico Iamaleava. Sure, I want to see how he plays on the field, how he's throwing, how he's grasping the offense, how he's operating the offense, how he's keeping the tempo. I want to see some of the plays that he makes outside of the pockets. I want to see and I want to hear from coaches on staff and from players when we speak with them how Nico is doing. So obviously, number 1 is the Nico look. What is he looking like in spring practice? That is number 1. Number 2 is going to be something that Josh Heupel said on the Hard Count with J.D. Vitello of On3. He said this on Friday, that they're going to start experimenting around a little bit, and that is helmet communication. This is nothing really Tennessee football specific, but this is something that I'm going to be on the lookout for in spring practice. You had, I believe it was Ross Dellinger last week that came out with a report, or I think we talked about it actually on Monday's show. This was a Friday afternoon news dump about how reportedly, the college football is going to have helmet communication next football season. Just like the NFL, where you had that little green dot on the back of your helmet for the quarterback, and then, of course, one defender. I believe you can pick what defender that is, but it would make most sense for it to be the linebacker. So I'm intrigued to see how that evolves, especially with Tennessee. Josh Heupel on the Hard Count on Friday said, quote, that's something I think we're going to experiment with over the course of spring and find out how to best operate and function with that direct communication with the quarterback. Your skilled players being about to communicate and get lined up properly. At the end of the day, we always want to play efficiently. It's not necessarily a set time-wise, of when we want to snap the ball. It's making sure we are operating as efficiently as we can between plays as we are in our tempo so that we can apply pressure to the defense. So he says, hey, we're going to experiment and see kind of how that looks. He went on to say, I've done this before, my brief cup of coffee, if you will, in the NFL. That's what Josh Heupel said. And so he has experience. And coming from this quote I'm about to read, I don't think he's a big fan of it. Quote, having worn that previously when I was a player in the league for my cup of coffee, I didn't want the guy talking to me too much before the snap of the football. Each quarterback has an opportunity to be a little bit different in finding out what is best for them in that process before the snap. So, again, that's why you experiment around with this in spring practice. It's going to be new for Tennessee, going to be new for everybody if indeed this does happen for football in 2024. I'm like Heupel. I would not want somebody in my ear. I've done a show. I've been on TV. I've been on radio. Obviously, I'm podcasting right now, and I've had a producer in my ear, and it's their job, and they help me tremendously. But a lot of times, I don't like the producer in my ear. I'm like, get out of here, and I take the IFB out, and then I get in trouble. So I get that. I wouldn't want somebody talking to my ear, play clock, go, just leave me alone. Let them cook, But you work all those kinks out a little bit in spring practice. So, and also, who's going to be the recipient of that on defense? And since defense is such a rotational position, what happens if you take your middle linebacker out one play and you put in somebody else? Does he hand the earpiece out to the next guy? I don't know how that works, and those are questions I'm going to ask. So that's something I'm going to be watching for in spring practice. So number 1's Nico, number 2's helmet communication, number 3's left guard. Okay, and that's probably the biggest glaring hole for Tennessee on the offensive side of the football. Will it be Andre Keurig, who started the season there last year? Will it be a veteran in Jackson Lampley, who ended the season there last year? Could it be Dane Davis, who has shown that he's a Swiss Army knife, friend of the program, Dane Davis, who could slide down and play left guard? Could it be Sham Yamaro, who was a freshman offensive tackle last year, who could slide down and maybe take that? Maybe it's Fyson Lang, who was a freshman last year, more of a center. I don't know. Those are questions that we have right now that Tennessee will have to figure out before game number 1. Will it be set in stone done after spring practice? Probably not. But should they have a good idea? I feel like they need to, but that's up to the players. So number 3 is left guard. And again, that's under the assumption that when everybody's healthy, John Campbell's at right tackle, Javonte Spragglin's at right guard, your center's Cooper Mays, your left guard's a question mark, and your left tackle is Lance Hurd from LSU. Number 4 is the secondary. Talked about it with our buddy Chris Gordy on the clip, I believe on the clip that I put in the show yesterday, but it was on Locked On SEC. Outside of Ricky Gibson and Jordan Thomas a little bit, if you played in the secondary last year for Tennessee, you're gone. It is completely brand new. All 5 starters are gone. Some key backups are gone. So how do these new guys come together? Who plays where? These transfers, I think Jermon McCoy hits the ground running as a day 1 starter at cornerback. He was a freshman All-American at Oregon State. I think Ricky Gibson's going to be a starter day 1 at cornerback. That's what I think. But will they? I think Jordan Thomas, if you're healthy, your day 1 starter at star at the nickelback spot. I think Andre Turrentine and who finished the season out for Wesley Walker at safety, and then maybe Jacoby Thomas coming over from MTSU. In my mind, those are probably your top 2 safeties. What about John Slaughter? What does he have to say about this? Boo Carter at the nickelback spot, or maybe Boo Carter could play a little safety as a true freshman. I don't know. Need to figure out that secondary. Need to get a few questions answered. You won't get them all answered, but you need to have a good idea following spring practice of what your secondary looks like. And then number 5 is running back depth. I thought Austin Price brought up a really great point on the VolQuest podcast earlier this week. It's not like you're hurting because you like your options that you have. You like Dylan Sampson, what he can do and what he's done. You love the upside from Cam Seldon, but you haven't really seen an awful lot of Cam Seldon. And honestly, you haven't seen Dylan Sampson in the RB1 role. And then after that, there's nothing in terms of experience. So there's a lot of inexperience there, if you will. Peyton Lewis coming in, he's going to miss spring. He's going to be held out, but we think that Peyton Lewis, the true freshman, can be kind of that third option in the backfield. Khalifa Keith is still on roster. Deshaun Bishop's on roster. There's a lot of newness, obviously, when you lose Jabari Small, who had like 26 career touchdowns or something like that. And Jalen Wright, who's going to go on and probably be, maybe one of the first running back drafted in the NFL draft this year. It's a lot of newness there. So how's that all going to work? I want to be looking for that. So top 5 things I'm looking for in spring practice when it starts a week from Monday. Nico, number 1, helmet communication, number 2, left guard, number 3, the secondary, number 4, and running back depth is number 5. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk more Tennessee basketball. Grant Ramey, my colleague over at VolQuest.com, he was in-house down in Columbia, South Carolina to watch Tennessee clinch the SEC regular season championship. That and getting ready for a big Kentucky game. That is coming up next with Grant Ramey of VolQuest.com when we continue here on Locked On Vols. Fire TV is your destination for sports, for live games, to highlights, to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with the smart TVs, as well as Fire TV Stick. Fire TV Stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV shows, TV episodes, free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. And Fire TV's recently created a Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos of your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of those game analytics, analysis, highlights, and more to keep up on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and a whole lot more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV on Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on that. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Grant, what a performance from Tennessee basketball, not just on Wednesday night, but really this entire season. And now Tennessee can say it's SEC regular season champs. I know that's not the end goal, but it is a goal, and it's a big deal, man. I mean, this is something that you can hang your hat on, but again, as the players said in postgame, we still have more work to do.
Yeah, it's a big deal. You haven't done it since 2008 in terms of winning it outright, and to do it with a game to spare. To take that kind of load off going into the Kentucky game Saturday, that's a big deal because if you don't win that game at South Carolina Wednesday night, then some stuff can happen and some, it could get away from you Saturday, and that's not what you want. You want to win championships, and yeah, they've stressed that. Rick said it at Alabama Saturday night. We're not done yet. We got work to do. That's what Dalton Knecht was saying last night in South Carolina. Jonas Adu too. Like, this is good. That's one of their goals was to win the SEC, but they have bigger goals, and that's the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament, all the stuff that's still out there.
Where do you think this kind of ranks in terms of Rick Barnes' coaching tenure? I know here at Tennessee he shared the regular season title. I want to say 17-18 season. Got the tournament title a couple years ago. Took this team to a couple of Sweet 16s. I understand he went to a Final Four a long time ago at Texas. But this has got to be, and again, a lot of this is dependent on how you finish the season. This has got to be one of the more enjoyable runs for Rick Barnes, wouldn't you say?
I think it's one of the more. I think it's one of the teams he's enjoyed coaching, maybe the most or more so than some others. And no insult to other teams, but he's just really enjoyed this group. And I think they were talking about it at South Carolina after the game. Like it dates back to that Italy trip back in August, and those foreign trips have a way of kind of bringing the team together, and all that time spent together in a foreign. I think it starts there. And they're just a good basketball team. They're good on both ends of the floor. You have a prolific scorer, a National Player of the Year candidate in Dalton Knecht. You play really good defense. You've got veterans. You've got guys in Josiah and Santi that have been here 5 years that know Rick's system like the back of their hand and are like coaches on the floor. So they had to go in the portal and find somebody. They struck absolute gold in Dalton. They had to be better offensively. They've been better offensively starting with Dalton, and the defense hasn't fallen off. So it's almost like you go down the list of stuff they had to do and check all the boxes, and Rick and his staff have been able to check all the boxes, and I think they've really enjoyed this run and just this team in general, what they're like behind the scenes too.
Talking about coming together on that foreign trip over the summer and kind of where it starts. It's like, when we all take our trip out to the farm, to Brent Hubbs' house. I'm from the ghetto here downtown. You're from Blount County. Austin Price is from Hardin Valley. You got Rob in Sequoia Hills. Matt sit down there somewhere in Chattanooga. We all come from different areas, and we go to the farm for a weekend, and we just kind of come together as a staff, kind of like that, right?
It's exactly like that. It's I don't know how the Italian countryside compares to Coreyton, but for whatever reason, yeah, those foreign trips have a way of. It's not only seeing a foreign country and getting to play exhibition basketball. They reap the benefits from those. I think they went on one 17-18, if I'm not mistaken, before they won that SEC title.
So maybe that's the key. Maybe that's what it is. They need to do one again next summer. Why? And there's something I've been trying to stress. When I did a radio appearance on Wednesday, when I do this show, I mean, the best team doesn't always win in college. You don't play a best of a 7 just like you do in the NBA. But why could this team make a run? Give me a reason why this team is so well equipped to make that deep run. Whereas maybe in years past, Tennessee was a good team, but wasn't as well equipped to accomplish the end goal.
I think you've seen it the last week and a half, or I guess the last week. They have been absolutely tough as nails against Auburn, against Alabama, against South Carolina. Auburn went on a 23-6 run, got up 8 in the second half at Thompson Bowling Arena. The wind was sucked out of that place. I didn't know how Tennessee was going to come back and win that game. Dalton puts them on their back. They go to Alabama. They get up 10 in the first half. I thought everything was going great. Alabama goes on a 17-1 run, 12-0 run to close the half, 17-1 run to take a 7-8-point lead, something like that in the second half. What they do, they locked down defensively. They scored enough. They did what they had to do. They made the plays to win that game in a really tough place to play, and to leave Tuscaloosa with a win. And then to go to South Carolina, they never trailed in that game, but every time South Carolina hit a three, Dalton would go down and hit a three. Every time the arena started to get some noise, they would do something to make a play. They'd force a turnover. They'd get a rebound, whatever they had to do. And in the NCAA tournament, it's like when you get behind, it's like that clock is in fast forward because you're thinking about, man, it's win or go home. This is my season right here in the second half if we can't figure out a way to win it. And if you're losing to a whatever seed, the upset alert or whatever, the Cinderella, the arena turns on you because it's all these other fans. And you have to have in that moment that answer. That everybody's going to go on a run. How are you going to answer that run? Don't let that snowball roll down the hill and become some disaster that ends your season. And what I've seen in the three toughest games of the season in this stretch is they've found ways to answer, and they've just been really tough. It's not always Dalton. It's not always offense. It's both ends of the floor. If that toughness, if that resilience translates to the NCAA tournament, they're going to be really tough to beat.
Kind of on that note, I understand there's more to basketball than scoring points, defense, facilitating, all that type of stuff. But how in the world, let's go back to August. I think you and Rob talked about this on the fast break. How in the world could you sit there and predict saying, all right, if I were to tell you that Tennessee's going to win an SEC regular season clinching game on the road, and Santiago Vescovi and Josiah Jordan-James will not have a field goal in that game, you'd say you're crazy. I mean, how is Tennessee kind of getting this done despite not a whole lot of points at times from those two? And again, you're going to tell me they impact the game in so many different ways.
Right. But, I mean, the obvious answer is Dalton Knecht because he's Dalton Knecht. But I was talking about this yesterday on radio. Tennessee's at their best, not when Dalton's scoring 40, but when Dalton's scoring 25 and Jonas Aidoo's scoring 12 and grabbing 9 boards, and Zakai Ziegler's got 9 points and 8 rebounds and 10 assists and flirting with a triple. Like those three guys, when they're at their best, that's when Tennessee's at its best. And it speaks to Joe and Santi that, Santi can take over a huddle at Alabama, and that was a kind of a little bit of a viral moment. That's what he brings to you, that coach on the floor kind of mentality. And at Alabama, when Jonas Aidoo and Tobe Awaka have 2 fouls each in the first 8 minutes, Josiah can play the 5, and he can go get you 13, 14 rebounds, whatever that was. Like it speaks to the depth of this team and the unselfishness and the chemistry and all that stuff that those guys are 4th, 5th options, whatever they are, kind of down the list. But it also speaks to who Dalton Knecht is, how elite of a scorer he has been, and the growth that we've seen from Jonas Aidoo. And, here's Zakai Ziegler, who's a year removed from an ACL tear, and he's averaging career best in minutes, field goal percentage, 2-point percentage, 3-point percentage, rebounds, assists, steals. I mean, for him to come back and to not miss a beat. It struggled to get off the ground a little bit early in the season, but the way he's played in SEC play, man, it's incredible. And doesn't get the attention because of Dalton. Neither does Jonas. But when those three are at their best, this Tennessee team's at their best. And Joe and Santi are fine, just kind of filling in the cracks.
So I saw Joe Lenardi put Tennessee up on the 1 line Thursday morning. Now, with Kentucky left to play the SEC tournament, how does Tennessee secure that 1 seed? In other words, just because Lenardi has them at the 1 seed doesn't mean that they've wrapped it up. What does Tennessee need to do over the course of the last game of the regular season and in the tournament to position themselves the best to get a 1 seed?
I mean, it's not the end of the world if you lose to Kentucky on Saturday, but you need to beat Kentucky on Saturday at home. It's your home court. It's your senior day, in the season the right way, all that stuff. You need to have a pulse in the SEC tournament, I think, because Tennessee they've picked up 3 quad 1 wins. Saturday against Kentucky is another quad 1 opportunity. You're probably going to have a quad 1 opportunity in the SEC tournament if you win on Friday and get to the semifinal round. They're 8-5, I believe, now in quad 1s. Arizona's 8-3 in quad 1s right now. They've got a couple quad 2 games left this week. And then the Pac-12 tournament or whatever that conference is called at this point. So you need to hope Arizona doesn't go on a run to the conference title and you don't flame out, basically. Tennessee's put in the work and they're 6-1 over their last 7 quad ones. And that Florida win back in January became a quad one when Florida beat Alabama in Gainesville the other night. So that helps Tennessee as well. But I think Tennessee has put in the work right now. I wasn't sure how it was going to happen, or I didn't really see it coming, but they're a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament right now. It might mean they get sent out west, but that would be the first time in program history, obviously, to be a number 1 seed. Kind of speaks to who this team is and this run that they've been on.
You ever been to LA?
I went to the Rose Bowl in 2008, the overtime loss, whatever that was. Tennessee went out there and used to play UCLA back in, I don't know, August, September, whatever that season was. I think that was my only trip.
Last thing, obviously, it was a really, really good outcome on the road in Rupp. Josiah went off. Dillingham's a really, really good player for Kentucky. What does Tennessee need to do to secure a senior day win and finish off this 2-week stretch where I think everybody with a 2-2 record would have been okay with, but a chance to finish it off with a 4-0 record?
Fast start. I think it's going to be a capacity crowd. They're going to be excited. They're going to be ready to celebrate an SEC championship. This Kentucky offense can show up in the blink of an eye and score 90 points on you if you're not careful. So Tennessee's A, going to have to score. Tennessee's B, going to have to enforce its will and play a physical game and defensive game and limit Kentucky and not let them put up 45, 50 points in the first half and get rolling, because in the blink, they can score. They got so much talent, offensive talent on this team. They don't play defense very much, but you better match shots with them, and you better get stops when you can get stops. And don't let Kentucky come in here and take the air out of the arena, because what you want to do to end this season, to end this run, is to go 4-0 over the last 2 weeks with 4 quad one wins, and then you can get out ladders and cut down the nets after completing a season sweep of Kentucky, a week removed from completing a season sweep of Alabama and all that stuff. So you want to put a bow on it the right way. You better get off to a fast start, keep the crowd in it, and make some shots.
Grant, appreciate you as always, man. Great work, you and Rob over at Volquest.com. Enjoy looking at your coverage on the weekend, and we'll see what happens to Tennessee basketball.
The fun is just beginning, Eric Cain. This is March, baby.
This is March. That is Grant Ramey, my colleague over at Volquest.com. Awesome dude. Encourage you to give him a follow at Grant Ramey on Twitter as well. Hey, when we come back, we are going to talk about Tennessee baseball heading into the weekend. Where is this Tennessee baseball team right now? I will tell you that and more coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to be dealing with quality professionals, all right? And the quality professionals that can fulfill the job for you. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just like any other job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals that you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn Jobs does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Plus, hiring's made easy, and you've never been able to find more quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get qualified candidates within 24 hours. So go check out LinkedIn.com today. That is, you can post your job for free over at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply. More Locked On Vols when we return after the break. Rolling right along here on a Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here and making this a part of your morning routine. A lot of people want to know about baseball. We'll talk a little bit about. Let me try that again. A lot of people want to talk a little bit about baseball. There you go. And I thought I would here in segment number 3. Many of you guys know, maybe read my work over at Volquest.com. I cover Tennessee baseball every single game. I'm there. I'm writing about it. I'm reporting on it. And so I wanted to. I like to consider myself an expert on Tennessee baseball, this Tennessee baseball team. So let's discuss a little bit about it. For those of you guys who may be casual, baseball fans, or maybe have jumped on board with Tennessee baseball in the last couple of years because Tony Vitello is here, or you haven't paid the least bit of attention, but you just know Tennessee baseball is really good and it continues to kind of, fan that flame of being an all-everything school. Tennessee baseball currently is 13-1. It's won 12 straight games. It's won 11 straight at home. All 11 home games so far it has won at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and it is getting ready to play host to Illinois. It's a Power 5 program here over the weekend before another midweek. I believe it's Eastern Kentucky on Tuesday, and then conference play does begin in Tuscaloosa against Alabama next weekend. And as you know, just like in football, just like in now men's basketball, women's basketball, track and field. I mean, pretty much it really does just mean more in the Southeastern Conference. Softball as well. Baseball is so incredibly tough in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, Tennessee right now, put things in perspective, depending on which poll you look at. I mean, the poll that I follow is D1 Baseball, and it has Tennessee as number 8 in the country. Top 10 team, pretty good, right? Well, that's like the number 5 team in the SEC. Okay, you've got Florida, Arkansas, LSU. You've got Vanderbilt is right around in there as well. And I'm probably missing one. Florida, Arkansas, LSU, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Texas A&M. That's the other one. Anyway, my point is there's really good baseball in the SEC. So the SEC schedule gets going next weekend, and I'm ready to see what's happening with it. Number 1 starter on Friday night, A.J. Russell. He burst onto the scene in Arlington at the at Globe Life Field for the Shriners Children's College Showdown. Had 10 strikeouts and 4 innings in the third. He made his next start at home against Albany, but went only 3 innings, scoreless 3 innings, before he left the game. And he's been dealing with some soreness in his side. And he missed last weekend's start against Bowling Green. He's going to miss tonight's start against Illinois, with hopes of getting back for the start of SEC play. And I was always told that, I mean, he's fine. It's not going to be long-term and everything, but they're going to be so cautious with him right now because you need A.J. Russell through the grueling SEC schedule and certainly postseason. So better to miss 2 weekends now than 2 weekends in May. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see exactly when he comes back. I think that there's a really good chance that he's back for the Alabama series. Now, that does not mean he's starting Friday night going 7 innings, pitching 102 pitches. He will likely go 2 innings or 3 and kind of ease himself, build him back up into being that Friday night guy. In the meantime, A.J. Causey, who could start on pretty much over half of the other SEC teams in the league, and certainly on this roster, he's going to be your Friday night starter as he was last week with 9 strikeouts. He was a transfer portal addition from Jacksonville State last year when he was the number 1 overall pitcher for them. He's a starting pitcher, but I've talked about this on Volquest and on podcasts before. For Tennessee to be as dangerous and as scary as it needs to be in May and SEC play and certainly in postseason play, you need to be dynamic in the bullpen. A.J. Causey throws sidearm, okay? So number 1, it's a different look. He throws sidearm at 92 and the ball sinks. And so, I mean, it's just such an incredibly tough angle for righties. And you want that coming in from the bullpen in high leverage situations. He can stretch out, certainly. He can come in the 5th inning, pitch the rest of the game. And of course, he's shown that he can start. And he should be, honestly, Tennessee's number 3 starter. But for Tennessee to be as good as it can possibly be, I believe A.J. Causey needs to stay in the bullpen. Same with Nate Snead from Wichita State that can hit 101 mile per hour. He can stretch out. He's pitched as many as 5 innings this year. He hasn't started a game yet, but he's another one of those that's super capable and could pitch on Sundays. But you need a Causey, a Snead, a Stamos, a Marcus Phillips in the bullpen, Kirby, to make you as dynamic as possible. Whereas, last year you had Cannon Sewell, who had started games for Tennessee, Seth Alverson, who had started games for Tennessee and Missouri, Chase Burns, who began his career as a starter. You had all those guys that were in your bullpen. So that's kind of my point that I'm stressing here lately. And in order to get to that point, somebody's got to step up and lock down that Sunday role. Now, Drew Beam, who everybody knows his name, he's the Saturday starter. He's not moving anywhere. So when everybody's healthy, it's A.J. Russell Friday, Drew Beam Saturday. And on Sunday, it's kind of a work in progress. Xander Seacrest got the first 2 starts of the season on Sunday, but only pitched like 2 innings in those. Last weekend, it was freshman Derek Schaefer. He went an inning and a third and lost control on that Sunday game. He only pitched 1 out to 1 batter on Wednesday, so he would be in line to potentially start on Sunday. Matthew Dallas is another promising freshman that, his first couple of appearances on the season looked really good, but his last 2, he hadn't been able to find the strike zone. So in order to keep a Snead or to keep a Causey in the bullpen, you've got to have one of those 2 freshmen or a Xander Seacrest, who had a midweek start on Wednesday and went 6 2/3, or 5 2/3, and had 10 strikeouts. He was incredible. It was against Southern Indiana, but he was really, really good. So you need one of those guys to step up and be a starter for you. Again, it's very much a work in progress. And Tony Vitello said that it would be a work in progress all throughout the non-conference slate and even into SEC play a little bit. And it's not always a norm that you have 3 routine every weekend starters in college baseball. A lot of times Sunday is TBD. Play it by ear. Well, what's the bullpen been looking like over the weekend? Make a call Saturday night on who's going to pitch on Sunday. We'll see. That's very much still a work in progress. To the lineup again. Kavaris Tears hitting cleanup, playing right field or center field's been incredible. Christian Moore's been really solid at second base. Billy Amick from Clemson, reigning SEC Player of the Week after 4 home runs last week. 5 home runs in a calendar week, actually. Phenomenal so far. He's leading Tennessee with 8 home runs and 19 ribbies so far. Dalton Bargo's been a nice addition. Robin Villeneuve has been a great addition from the junior college ranks. Cannon Peebles, switch hitting catcher, starting to come around a little bit. I mean, Tennessee, of its regular starters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the regular starters are hitting over 300. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Robin Villeneuve, who is in the starting lineup regularly. He's got 9 starts, 12 appearances on the year. He's hitting .407. Dean Curley's hitting .308, and that brings me to my next point. What a performance on Tuesday against Kansas State. Dean Curley, a freshman, homers 3 times in the game, tied with 5 other Tennessee players with 3 home runs in a game, most in program history. He drove in 9 runs. That's a freshman record at Tennessee, and I believe it's tied for seconds all time in RBI in a game. And he was inches away from homering for the 4th time in the 9th inning. Everybody in the press box was like getting up and was ready to go because we thought that was going to be the 4th home run of the day. Just phenomenal. Dean Curley's been incredible, and in the future after this year, it'll be Dean Curley at third base and Ariel Antigua at shortstop. Aaron Antigua is still working himself back from a thumb injury. So that's kind of a little bit of a rundown of the pitching and of the lineup so far. If you're just a casual Tennessee baseball fan, I would tell you this, man, this team hits. This team's going to be fun. Still trying to work it out on the mound a little bit. But once again, Tony Vitello has built this team ready to compete. Frank Anderson and Josh Elander, Chad Zercher, and Tony Vitello and Quentin Eberhardt and everybody, Luke Bonfield, everybody involved with this Tennessee program. This is a typical Tennessee team. Got options, got bats, and got a lot of promising arms that need to kind of, figure it out a little bit, but it's still early in the season. So it's been fun so far. Tennessee is 13-1, have won 12 straight. We'll host Illinois at Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend. We'll have a midweek and then off into SEC play in Tuscaloosa the following weekend. So I'm excited to see what Tennessee does. Hope you guys enjoyed a little baseball talk. Wanted to give you guys just a little bit of update 14 games into the season because I know a lot of Tennessee baseball fans are everydayers, make Locked On Vols your first listen every day. So wanted to talk a little baseball there with you guys as well. Hey, it's been a fun week. Had a lot of good guests on. Tennessee SEC champs coming up. It's Kentucky tomorrow. We'll see if Tennessee can finish off this ride on into postseason play, and we will cover it all. Every football nugget from over the weekend, recruiting, baseball, Tennessee and Kentucky, all that and more. That is coming up on Monday's Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys as always. For free, you can listen, watch, subscribe, and download Locked On Vols wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching us, please subscribe to the channel right now. If you're listening to us and you don't download the episodes on Apple, Spotify, wherever, please download. That's how the show grows, how I get paid, and how we continue to build this show up. Thank you guys as always, and we will talk again on Monday. This is Locked On Vols.